have Vivek G. Gupta, who is the president of MCCI. We have Shri Akash Shah, the incoming president. We have Shri S.M. Gupta ji, the president of NCLT Kolkata Bar Association. And we have Shri Gopal Khetan, who is a chartered accountant, and he's the deputy convener of BBD Bagh Study Circle. Thank you so much to all of you. I think without much ado, we should quickly get into the program. But let me tell you, we have our esteemed speaker, Mr. Pratik Kedawat, who's a practicing lawyer from Jaipur, and he's also a company secretary by degree. And I'm sure he'll be able to wade us through the Section 252 issues, if not anything else, which may come to him as a query. Vivek ji, may I request you to please have your opening remarks?
जी आप अपना काम मेरे को दे रहे हैं. You were supposed to give the opening remarks.
In your presence, I
think it's my honor and privilege on behalf of MCCI to welcome this esteemed panel today, especially the lordships, Mr. Honorable Gosavi ji, Honorable Suri ji, Honorable Rajshekhar ji, Pratik ji, Gupta ji, and Mr. Khetan and Akash and Hope. Thank you, Mamta ji, for organizing this for MCCI, and thank you all of us to participate. I won't take much time. I think we have almost more than 120 participants. People are there to listen to all of you. I'm sure today will be a cracking session on, on the revival of companies under Section 252. I think that is the key topic that we are trying to cover. And it will be interesting to hear the views of the esteemed panel, especially the respected judges. And over to you, Mamta ji, over to all of you. Once again, many, many thanks. Welcome all of you, all the participants. I hope you all get a very high take-home value today and that you all keep supporting MCCI in whatever endeavors we do. Thanking you.
Over to you, Vivek ji. So Vivek ji runs a very popular newspaper called Sanmarg, and I'm sure he'll also carry some views from this program, and we may see some views from his mouth, not maybe from his mouthpiece, but from his newspaper tomorrow. So thank you, Vivek ji, for being there. S.M. Gupta ji, may you please shower your blessings on all of us, and also take best wishes from our honorable judges for all days to come. मुनमुंदी, एसएम गुप्ता जी का माइक थोड़ा देखिए, प्लीज अनम्यूट कर दीजिए. गुप्ता जी आप अपने माइक को खुद अनम्यूट करिए. गुप्ता जी अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ
प्लीज. अनम्यूट. हां,
कैन यू हियर मी?
यस यस गुप्ता जी.
अच्छा, गुड इवनिंग एवरीबॉडी. नमस्कार. माय लॉर्ड जस्टिस गोसावी, माय लॉर्ड जस्टिस सूरी, माय लॉर्ड जस्टिस राजशेखर जी, particularly Justice Rajshekhar ji, we welcome you to Calcutta as a NCLT bench member. Mamta,
yes.
I cannot. Acha, now I'm so and President Vivek Gupta ji of Merchant Chamber of Commerce and Industry is also a former member of Parliament and Chief Editor of Sanmarg, the National Hindi Daily. Akash ji, who is the incoming president. Mamta Binani, chairperson of the Council of Legal Affairs and past president of ICSI. Mr. Kedawat, who is the guest speaker, and all other guests. Welcome on behalf of National Company Law Tribunal and Kolkata Bar Association, all of you. This is a very, very apt subject chosen by Mamta. Pardon me if I have forgotten any names. This subject is so important for practicing company secretaries and for advocates that every now and then companies are being struck off, directors are being disqualified, and hence this subject is so important for today's meeting that everybody will be after the speaker starts. It will be a very interesting session. So thank you once again and welcome everyone once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. May I request, with the permission of everyone there, that we should now begin our session with our honorable guests of honors. And Gosavi ji, may I request you to please give our opening remarks. And Gosavi ji, we really look upon you. You have really blessed the Kolkata bench with lot of learnings we get from you. आपकी सबसे बड़ी खास बात है जो गोसावी जी सब जानते हैं, मैं सिर्फ ये बात बोल रही हूँ अपने मुंह से, बट आपके सामने हम आते हैं तो बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेपरेशन करके आते हैं. हमें पता होता है कि आप एकदम पिन पॉइंटेड क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं and you know where the details lies, so where the devil lies. So you have really honed our skills how to appear in courts, and that's the biggest gift that you have given to all the professionals who are there in the Kolkata bench. We are deeply indebted to you, Gosavi ji, and for today's program, the kind of response that we got from you is really very, very enriching. So thank you so much for being there, Gosavi ji. May I request you to please have your remarks, sir?
Thank you, Mamta. Thank you for such a marvelous introduction to all panelists and all guests present there. My brother, Honorable Justice Mr. Suri, my another brother, Mr. Honorable Justice Raj Shekharji, Bar President Gupta sir, then Mamta, you particularly, all other panelists, guest speaker. It is a privilege for me that you invited me to this webinar. But I feel that if Raj Shekharji would have joined day before, then I would not have been invited, isn't it? Because anyway, take it as a joke. I'm really overwhelmed because of this warm invitation. Today's topic, that is revival of the companies which are struck off by ROC under Section 248 of the Companies Act 2013. Initially, that provision was not there in earlier act, or it was in some distracted situation. Mainly, we have to consider being new entrants in a profession, lawyers, company secretaries, or even chartered accountants who are practicing in a company law, basically. They must, I will advise them, don't go only by the provisions of law. Provisions of law are always there in the book. What we have to learn, what is the interpretation behind it, why such provision is made there under. And we find the resource of that provision under Article 19 of the Constitution, that everybody has fundamental right to do the business, a profession of his choice. There are certain restrictions, and restrictions are there in the company law. If you see the scheme, that particular scheme, how companies to be struck off, what are the eventualities or what are the conditions to be fulfilled. Mainly, we come across petitions under Section 252(3). But I feel that instead of everybody is coming under Section 252(3) for filing miscellaneous application for revival of company, you should come under the appeal under Section 252(1). Yes. Because it has more scope. If you go through that provision 248 very minutely, you will find that notice has to be served not to the company, but each director personally. Yes. We find that such notices are never been served. And if notice is not served to each director, if they are not called upon to give their representation under Section 248(5), if that representation is not considered by ROC and still companies strike out, it is a patently illegal action on part of the ROC. Yes, sir. So on that ground only appeal succeeds. You know that under Section 252(3), we impose the fine, we impose the penalty, but when we deal with the appeal, since it is there are two ways. 252(1) is a statutory remedy, whereas 252(3) is a remedy based on equitable rights. Yes, sir. That company, that you have to prove that you are carrying business, you are carrying operation, or for any other equitable ground, we can revive the company. But don't go on equity jurisdiction all the way. Yes. You always go on a statutory jurisdiction. It has a more scope, and we can deal it very promptly, because we know that notices are being filed before us by the registrar of company. That is a gazette publication. That is not enough. Yes. That notice comes under Section 248(4). Yes, but sir. There has to be compliance of 248(1), 248(2), and then 248(4). But we don't come across any notice given to the company, sent to the company's registered address, sent to each director, and the company strike out. On the basis of that, director's DIN is deactivated. Everything you get, you know that under 252.3 we have no power to activate the DIN of the director's identification number. But when you come in appeal, we can certainly do that.
Yes.
Because it is a legal remedy. It is a legal wrong done by ROC. So point out that my request to the guest speaker to highlight this aspect in more promptly, so people can have that advantage. Secondly, my query would be regarding this. Suppose company is there, it has been strike out. Company has large assets behind. After paying all dues of the government dues, all companies, other areas and everything, taxes, cess, whatever, still property remains. What happens to that property? What will be the remedy for that property? To whom that property, it will go to promoters, whether it will go to shareholders, what will happen to that? The law is silent on this. We have to deliberate on such gray areas so that we can read the that particular provision in very in proper way. So I will request all of you to deliberate this point also. I don't take much time because within 1 hour we have to, so many people there, so many guest speakers are there. They are well learned than me. So without taking much time of you, I conclude my speech. I thank you again, all of you, that having given me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gosaviji. Thank you so much, Gosaviji. Thank you so much. Much honored, Gosaviji. Much honored.
Yes, thank you.
May I now request our Honorable Judicial Member Raj Shekharji. Let me tell you, gentlemen and ladies who have joined us, Raj Shekharji has joined the Kolkata bench NCLT only yesterday. We are deeply honored that the NCLT Kolkata bench has got a member like Raj Shekharji. Raj Shekharji, we welcome you to the bench. And the bar and bench in Calcutta works very, very, they fondly work with each other. Gosaviji, Suriji.
Sorry, Mamta, I will give you one more introduction of Raj Shekharji.
Yes, sir.
He had worked in Ministry of Corporate Affairs for 12 to 13 years.
Okay.
So he knows in and outs of company law. That is from my side. Okay, continue.
Thank you. So Raj Shekharji, I think Saviji in 3 words and in a very small sentence said it all. In fact, Raj Shekharji, even I was telling you yesterday that so many people told me that Raj Shekharji has a very deep understanding of corporate laws and company law in specific. So I think, that is the reason why they were telling me this. So Raj Shekharji, we are very, very happy to welcome you, though there will be a proper welcome session, which is the norm of the bar, of course. But apart from that, since today we have this program, I must say that this magnanimity will always be remembered, that you readily accepted our invitation. So thank you so much, Raj Shekharji. And believe you me, you will have no problems in the City of Joy. It still holds the tagline of City of Joy. People do say that, Mamta, where is the joy? But when you start staying here, as Gosaviji was mentioning, that you will start liking Calcutta. So we will quickly tell you to bring your family also with you so that you will like it better. But till then, we are your extended family. So we welcome you to this program, Raj Shekharji, and may I request you to please let us know your pearls of wisdom to all of us. Thank you.
I'm deeply humbled by the warm words of welcome that I've been receiving for the last 2 days. It's been my pleasure completely to be here. At the time, of course, the timing may have not been convenient for others, but then for good or bad, it is now a thing of the past. I'm now part of the Kolkata bench. And from whatever little I have seen over the last 1.5 days, there is no wonder that this city has the tagline of City of Joy. That much I can tell you. It's really a marvelous city. I'm already liking it a great.
That's so nice.
And I'm regretting the fact that I did not join earlier. Let's put it this way. Okay. Now, as far as the topic itself is concerned, see, what was there in 560 of the 1956 Act has now effectively become two sections under 248 and 252. Otherwise, 252 remains in pari materia with the 1956 Act. Insofar as the appeal provision is concerned, I'm thankful to my brother, Mr. Gosavi, for making this distinction, because this is a distinction that is lost on many professionals as to what exactly falls under 252.1 and what will fall under 252.3. The language itself is very different if you read the provisions. In terms of 252.1, what it really embodies is an appeal against a decision of the registrar.
Yes, sir.
Whereas in 252.3, what it talks about is an application on grounds of equity. Primarily, my brother has summed it up very beautifully. But as far as the Bombay bench is concerned, I have seen all of them file applications under 252.1. We hardly see many applications under 252.3. But it's an important distinction to keep in mind, because if you read the language, 252.1 starts by saying any person aggrieved by an order of the registrar.
Right.
We just juxtapose that with 252.3. It says if a company or a member or a creditor or a workman, there are only 4 categories to it.
Yeah.
Feels aggrieved by the company having its name struck off from the register. It is not a challenge to the order of the registrar. It is just that there is a grievance that the company's name is no longer there for whatever reasons, because all these categories of persons who are eligible under 252.3, they may have different reasons why the name of the company is not on the register. But it is not a challenge to the order of the registrar himself. That means the registrar's order is right. I have defaulted in non-filing of the returns in question. But still, if the company's name is off the register, I am aggrieved due to XYZ reasons. Whereas in 252.1, there is a direct challenge to the order of the registrar. It is not that he is aggrieved by the company's name having been struck off, but he is aggrieved by the order itself. This is a fundamental distinction between the two. This will have to be kept in mind. When you file an appeal under 252.1, it has to be numbered as a company appeal. And under 252.3, it necessarily has to be an application. But if you see the proviso to 252.1, it says the registrar, if the fault is on the part of the registrar and he wants to file something, he will file by way of an application, because he can't file an appeal against his own order.
Right.
Therefore, this fundamental distinction between the three is there.
Yeah.
Then the second thing, because this was a matter that was argued before me, they said the proviso, the first proviso to subsection 1 says, provided that before passing any order under this section, the tribunal shall give a reasonable opportunity of making representations. This is not under 252.3. It is under 252.1, and therefore it applies only in the case of an appeal. In the case of an application under 252.3, the tribunal is free to decide on its own. This is fallacious for the reason the proviso doesn't say provided that before passing any order under this subsection. It says under this section, all of them will have to be given notice. Then the third aspect to this is when, let us say under an appeal, the Principal Commissioner of Income Tax files, because Principal Commissioner of Income Tax cannot file it under 252.3. 252.3 talks only about these 4 categories. It has to be a company, a shareholder, creditor, or a workman. It can't be any other category.
Yes, sir.
So Principal Commissioner will file it under 252.1. Okay. It envisages that before passing the order under that section, the tribunal shall give a reasonable opportunity of making representations and of being heard to the registrar, number 1, to the company, number 2, and of all the persons concerned. This is the third one. Now, there is again a feeling that the effect of striking off the name of a company in terms of section 248 is that the company shall stand dissolved, which means it is a dead person. Therefore, what notice can you give to a dead person?
Yes.
This is not the same as the death of a natural person, because once a natural person dies, he can't be revived. Once there is a declaration of death, he can't be revived. But this operates as a fiction of law. For all practical purposes, it is gone. But then there is a 20-year time frame within which, if you satisfy the tribunal, it can be revived in terms of 3. And in terms of 252(1), the appeal can only be within 3 years.
Yes, sir.
In the course of my limited experience, of course, my learned brothers have much more experience listening to arguments on the bench than I have. But in the course of my limited experience, I have seen many people make this fundamental, they're not very clear on what 252(1) entails and what 252(3) entails. I think this is a very important thing where you know how to read the law, how to read the different provisions, what to use when. My brother, Mr. Gosavi, said, you have to use the provision under 252 subsection 1 also in cases where you feel that the act of the registrar was wrong. Because if you go to 248(1), it envisages a notice not just to the company and all its directors. That aspect is completely gone. I have not seen a single application challenge the service of notice on the directors. It has never happened. I can say it with a great deal of conviction. It has never happened. They don't want to challenge the order of the registrar. Somehow get an order, whether it is under 252(1), whether it is under 252(3), what difference does it make? But such an attitude on the part of the professionals, or an approach on the, not an attitude, it's a wrong word to use, such an approach on the part of the professionals will not help in developing the law.
Yes.
The law will be developed if you challenge the provisions, if you read it as it should be read, and then challenge the act. Therefore, then you make the public authority also accountable to the fact that you have to prove to the tribunal that you have actually issued this notice. Where is the service? That doesn't ever happen. Okay, so these things will have to be kept in mind, and a notice to the company in cases under 252(1). You just don't serve it on the registrar and leave it at that happily. If you're filing it under 252(1) and under 252(3), then notice will also have to go to the others. They will have a chance to object. If you have read the 39/2020 order of NCLAT, that was an application, that was an appeal filed by the principal commissioner, which was allowed without notice to the company. And one of the, I think it was a director or shareholder, it was a promoter director of the company. He approached the NCLAT with an appeal and said, we don't have notice. We object to this company being revived because it will fasten much more liabilities than we are in a position to meet at the moment.
Yes.
And the NCLAT set aside the order of the tribunal, saying, we consider the matter afresh after giving notice in terms of the proviso. So that has now become an important constituent of this.
Yeah.
Until then, we were ignoring the company's aspect because we are all under the impression the company's name has been struck off, it no longer exists.
Right.
If that was the case, then the proviso need not have been there. It need not have envisaged a notice to the company. So that, yes, those are the aspects we keep in mind. And as questions and answer session goes on, we'll discuss in a bit finer detail about this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was really going deep into it. You're pretty right when you said that no one wants to challenge the status quo. There's kind of a lot of herd mentality sometimes that we see that, you know, in our fraternity also we see that, hey, do you have one application? Can I have that copy of the said application? And, you know, we feel that 252 is something which is very cyclo-style and which is something which is, it's a no-brainer. It's kind of that application is what people have really started understanding with 252. And when you said that, of course, when you challenge the law, that is only when the law really grows, because we all grow like that, and especially the law has always been so dynamic, and that's the reason why these challenges are very, very important. I'm sure these insights is definitely going to help us, and that's the reason why these kind of sessions are very important. So thank you, Rajshekhar-ji. We'll, in the days to come, a lot of things will unfold itself, and I'm sure, you know, we will come out as the best can also become better. So definitely we'll emerge as always a better person while appearing in the courts day in and day out. So thank you, Rajshekhar-ji, and we also promise to extend all our cooperation to the bench. May I now request our Honorable Suri Saab to kindly have his words of advice, wisdom to all of us. Let me tell you, Suri Saab is the technical member of NCLT Kolkata bench. And apart from the other side that he possesses, let me tell you, he's an artist. He sings very well. Everybody knows that he has his art side he's very passionate about it. And I think Calcutta, Suri Saab, Calcutta is the best place, because from the other parts, Gosaviji will definitely say that Ahmedabad is also doing very well, Mamta. So you don't take the whole credit for Calcutta. I'm not taking that. But otherwise, people say that Calcutta is still the nerve center for arts, aesthetics, dance, music, and so many other things. Apart from that, the intellectual property possessed by this city is just excellent. That is what every judge who has come here has said, that it's wonderful to see the kind of deliberations that we find in Calcutta, because it is so rich intellectually. People actually read each and every word, each and every comma and full stops. So Suri Sahab is, definitely, I'm sure he's enjoying it. The kind of orders that he writes with his precious pen, that it's very unambiguous. Suri Sahab, thank you for all that pain that you're taking for the judiciary and for the bench and for the bar. So with these words, may I now request Suri Sahab to kindly give us his words of wisdom.
Good evening, all my friends in the meeting. You see, after hearing both my brothers, I don't think I would be able to add anything more, because they have so beautifully differentiated the two aspects up to 52. And I think all of us will be benefited by their talk today. Gosaviji and Rajshekhar ji have told us everything about this subject, I think. So I don't think I will be able to say anything more, because we have understood everything in brief, whatever they have told. So when you called me yesterday, I cleverly added the name of Rajshekhar ji, because I knew that he will be the better person to tell everything on the subject rather than I myself speaking on the subject. So I requested you to add his name, and I skipped out of, I wanted to sit on the audience side. So I am still considering myself as a part of the audience. So they have, whatever they have spoken, we are thankful to them. They have spoken so beautifully. So I would request all of you to benefit by their thoughts, whatever they have spoken, and they will continue following their advice.
Thank you.
But that's what I want to speak. Let us hear all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Honored by your presence again, sir. Prateek, so you've got a very arduous task in front of you. You have the kind presence of the honorable judges, which you seldom find. So today you have to bat and bowl both, and you have to be not out. Right?
Indeed, ma'am. I'll try my level best. Actually,
over to you, Prateek. Over to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I extend my heartfelt thanks to everybody, and my regards to the Honorable Justice M.B. Gosaviji and Justice Rajshekhar and Justice H.C. Suri. Lord, although I had been given the artist task to explain the section 252, but the way my lords have interpreted has also given me a new kind of knowledge to understand these sections in a more deeper and a better way. I think that this is the learning I would be able to imbibe, and would try to impart and share with all. The legends are already there, and the legends to be their August gathering. So, and very heartfelt thanks to Mamta ma'am as well for providing this opportunity for every one of us to sharing the knowledge platform, and the MCCI, who has taken this philanthropic task and altruistic task to share the knowledge with among all the people. And I also like to thank this this technology, because of which I would be able to take this session. So as the Lord has said that what I was able to find that the major drive of the strike off of the companies started with the public notice. Public notice came that the government felt that there had been a huge number of shell companies that are there, and there are many transactions that are happening, because of which the exchequer is facing huge loss, or there is not the exact business that is not happening, but the people are taking the shelter of a company and trying to take different kinds of transactions, because of which the government thought to take an action. But what I felt that when taking this action of striking off of companies, already in the 1956 Act, as as pointed out by the Lords Rajshekhar ji, that in Section 560 of the Companies Act, the strike off provision were already there. But the major and they were very little amount of companies that used to get a strike off under Section 560. But in the year 2017, the two public notices were issued by the government on the website of PIB. One was 6th of September 2017, and then there was a 12th of September 2017. By which it said that it is to weed out the shell companies, more than 2 lakh shell companies, there has to be an action. So as Roosevelt had said that there had to be a carrot and stick policy. So I suppose that government thought of taking a stick policy and taking an action of striking off of companies. Now, after this what is interesting to see is that after these two public notices of the government, when it came that of 12th of September 2017, two major steps were done. One was the disqualification of the directors from the companies, and another was that issuing the striking off of the huge number of companies. Now they said that this investigation has to be done when there has to be a shell company. So when it is quite interesting to find that if we look into all the acts of the country, be it the taxation acts, be it the Companies Act, or be it the Contract Act, there is not a single definition of shell company that is available in any act. That is not that had not been codified. So government, to ease out a task, I feel very sorry to choose a hard word, but taking with a stroke of a pen, thousands of directors of the entire country were disqualified, and many of the companies that had been struck off by the action of registrar of companies. So what is the reason? What is the reason? The reason was that supposedly there had to be a loss to the exchequer that might have been happening because of these companies, because of the web of the companies. And since these companies, so if there had to be a loss, what is the loss? What is the quantum of loss? If the government was having a back of the mind, is coming up with a legislation and taking the action over it, so what is the lot that had never been quantified? And just can the scanner be can the equal scanner be done on all the people? If we look into the most of the in India, what we find is that the companies are majorly held by the family entity. Private limited companies are the companies, which is the majority number of companies in the India are private limited companies. Now, if we look into the 1956 Act, director disqualification was there of the public limited companies. Not the thing is that this is a private limited company. Majority of the companies in which there has to be a cost that had to be incurred while filing the annual return and balance sheet. So the ROC, what is the ROC is doing? If we look into the Act, the section 258 subsection C, subclause CVC, a company is not carrying on any business or operation for a period of 2 immediately preceding financial end and has not made any application within such period for obtaining the status of a dormant company. So what ROC use as the scanner is that what Ministry of Corporate use as a scanner is that they say that if you are not filing the returns of preceding 2 years, it would be deemed that you are not carrying on the business and your company has to be struck off. When income tax department or a GST department or any other taxation department takes at times there happens a joint meetings. It is not only that income tax department is giving you unilateral notices. At times it happens that they have a joint meeting and the interdepartment meetings also happen. So whether the registrar of companies took any kind of representation with the CBDT or with the taxation department saying that since I'm not getting information from the companies of preceding 2 years, I think that these are not carrying on the business and these are a shell company and I would like to strike off this company from my register. Now the modus operandi by which the registrar of companies strikes off a company is one thing is that it would give a public notice. It would give us STK 5, which is a public notice. So when I do remember that while taking classes of the law, it was told to us that the principle of natural justice is something that is very much important to any kind of law. Any action, if it has to be taken, what is primary is the principle of natural justice. And by what action they are taking today is that they are issuing a public notice. And by public notice, they would be saying that you might not be filing the preceding 2 years returns. So I think that you are not carrying on the business. And if I'm not carrying on, you are not carrying on the business, so you might be a shell company. And if you are a shell company, although the reason does not be specified anywhere, but if we read the press release of the Government of India or the Ministry of Corporate Affairs of 2017, the reason is the shell company. And after that, they have mandated it to...
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To call it a strike, to call it as a strike of company. Now another issue. So the thing was that.
Pratik, just give me a minute. Our honorable judges Rajshekhar ji, Suri ji, and Gosavi ji. I think there's so much of pressure in the bench. So to hold our honorable judges back will not be wise. We do understand from the bar that each minute is belonging to the nation. So thank you, sirs, for your kind presence. Thank you so much. Sirs, we can only request that 252 matters, if it can be Gosavi ji, Rajshekhar ji and Suri sir, we are only requesting that if the 252 matters can be really also be seen on the priority in the list.
We have already decided today.
Right, sir.
Our new member has already given us a suggestion to decide these matters quickly. Within next 15 days, something will happen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. बोलने के पहले ही हमारे body language से आप लोगों को समझ में आ जाता है कि ममता तो कुछ बोलने वाली है.
We have already talked to each other about this.
Thank you. Gosavi ji.
And we can cost ma'am if the cost we can.
Yes. So we'll request that Gopal. Gopal, why don't you give a Gosavi ji? Would you like to stay with us for a little longer? आपका म्यूट पे गोसावी सर हाँ सर.
No, I have to check daily orders now.
I understand. I know sir.
We are also.
That's a problem.
So Gopal, can you please?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
Take a vote of thanks.
Yes. Yeah. It's my pleasure to give the vote of thanks to our honorable judge. It's really great to have the judges as a panel and their suggestions. Your suggestion was great, sir, to us. And you have given the great suggestions how we can work and what we can do. And we really, thanks to you, sir. Thanks to Honorable Goswami, sir. Thanks to Rajshekhar, sir. And thanks to Honorable Suri sir. Thank you so much, Lord.
Sir, just give us 1 more minute, only 1 more minute. Akash ji, he's the incoming president of MCCI. Akash ji, would you like to say something? Or Akash ji? Yes.
I don't want to hold anybody back, but I just wanted to thank all the lordships for their valuable time. And I really hope that we can have more meaningful interactions with all of us concerned for the benefit of the community, the business community. And I really would like to extend a hearty vote of thanks on behalf of the chamber for giving us your patience.
Thank you, Akash sir. Thank you. Thank you, Gosavi ji. Thank you, Rajshekhar ji. Thank you, Suri sir. Thank you, Lords. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lords.
Prateek, thank you for the generosity.
Ma'am, it is actually.
It was so nice of them that they were with us for pretty long time.
An honor for us, ma'am.
Yeah, but it was prudent that I did this because otherwise they would have been hesitant. Yeah. Akash sir, thanks for doing that for us. That was pretty apt. Yes, Prateek, please, you may continue.
Yes, ma'am. So we are now having a public notice in STK 5. So it is in gross violation of principle of natural justice. Once they give us only a 1 month's time, that if we reply to them in a 1 month time, so we are not even having the opportunity whether the STK 5 was issued to us or not. Now, when after some time it comes that the STK 7 is issued, and by STK 7 the company is striked off. So now as the company is strike off, the remedy available, the question that the honorable judges just gave to us, that what would be the fate of the company that has been striked off. A strike off company, will that be equivalent to a dissolution? Because if we look that there are many statutory demands that remains at that time, and if those statutory demands like of income tax, like of GST department, will they automatically finish just because our company had been strike off? Evidently, we had in one case of income tax appeal, Rajasthan High Court, in a matter, a company was strike off because of the action of Registrar of Companies, and that company was having a demand of more than 2 crore rupees pending. So when the question came before the Honorable High Court said that since the company had been strike off, the demand won't persist. However, the department took the appeal filed a SAW to the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court in that matter said that just because a company had been strike off, that does not mean that the management of the company can be dissolved out of their income tax demands. So the matter was again remanded back to the Honorable High Court, and the High Court has to decide the matter afresh, that whether whether the question of law of appeal had to decided again. So it does not mean that there might be there might be certain consultants who might be giving when people ask them that whether a company which are being strike off, and there are many companies that had been in doldrums, or there were manufacturing concerns that remain with the department, their VAT demands are pending, their sales tax department demands are pending, their income tax department demands have been pending, because generally procedure of income tax is that it does not give you notice immediately in the year in which your demand had been pending. Because the assessment, they have the power of 4 years. After 4 years, till 4 years, they have the time of limitation where they can raise you, send you a notice raising a demand of income tax. So now what happens that if we go by the government authority question, that when a government authority, if you are saying that 250(1) has the limitation period of only of 1 year. So income of 3 years is of only having 3 years. So if the government department has to file an appeal in the 252(1), and incidentally it had brought the demand in the fourth year. So it was not knowing that the company had been strike off. So it would go by the 252(3) manner. And just as quoted that actually case came before me. Case was briefed to me in which the company, because I practice as for income tax side as well. So that the Supreme Court had remanded, and the SSC came to me. And in this case, so that does not mean if a company had been strike off. So consultants give the advice that it is equivalent to the insolvency of a company. The company liabilities are not ended because of this. Because if we clearly read, if we read section 252 subsection 3, it says that if a company or any member or creditor. So if one, we are saying that of a statutory demand, that if it has ended, and will there be an opinion that company should be revived or not? Certain people will say that since you have huge creditors, don't get your company revived, or you have huge income tax demands pending, don't get your company revived. But a creditor has a right. If a creditor comes to you and says that the company had been striked off, what should I do? And if that 20 years had not been lapsed, so a creditor can also file the revival of a company, or as well as workmen. But yes, saying that in 252(1) has provided any person. So any person, if we look into there is a problem with the income tax department, as the case study come before us, that there had been 3 years had been elapsed. 252(1) provides only for 3 years, and the department raises the demand in the 4th year, and even department was not knowing that there had been a demand earlier and the company had been striked off by the registrar of companies. So when we look into the action of this particular legislation, we find that there had been multiple, I would say, candidly, I would be saying that there had been a confusion between the statutory authorities. Even the action, if they are saying that this is a shell company, so somewhere it would backfire to another statutory authority if the investigation, the process of investigation, a fair principle of natural justice, that is opportunity of being heard, is not given to all the concerned stakeholders, because the section says that, as had been rightly pointed out by our esteemed judges, that he shall, in section 248, the language is, he shall send a notice to the company and all the directors of the company of his intention to remove the name of the company from the register of companies, and requesting them to send their representation along with copies of the relevant documents, if any, within a period of 30 days from the date of notice. And when we read 252(3) end, the proviso, if we read the 252(1) proviso, provided that before passing any order under this section, the tribunal shall give a reasonable opportunity of making representation and of being heard to the registrar, the company, and all the persons concerned. So all the person concerned may be a statutory authority. Generally, we see that various benches prefer that the income tax authorities are also made a party to the restoration application or the appeal. And there might be indirect taxes. Generally, it takes the income tax department as a second respondent in these matter, along with the registrar of companies. Because if we there had been the procedure of section 560 in the Companies Act 1956, when the official gazette used to get published. If somebody's if you are able to lay your hands on that official gazette, you will find that when the companies were used to get striked off under section 560, the notices were given to the regional director in which your company was given, and along with the one copy to the particular commissioner income tax as well, principal commissioner income tax as well, because there might be the interest of the exchequer that might have affected. Strangely, when we see that at this point, so at that point of time, we were not having company law tribunals, and we could not speed up the process. So most of the company management were also not much inclined if their company was striked off, and generally very few companies used to get striked off. But after coming of the 2017 notice of the government, there had been a huge mammoth of more than 2 lakh companies or 2 lakh directors, and thousands of companies had been struck off by one action of the registrar of companies. So when High Court used to take was that it was giving the notice to the statutory authorities as well. And again, when we find that when STK 5 or STK 7 is being issued, there is no notices to the other statutory authorities that had been. So there had been lot of contraventions just because of this kind of, because there was an anxiety on the part of government authorities that they have to take an action and they have to make a report that see what we can do is that if you are, so they judge all the people by same rule. That is something cannot be done in a democratic setup when we are having a constitution which provides the fundamental right. Though it is an artificial person, but the people who are doing the business is Article 19(1)(g) is a fundamental right to carry on the business. So the management is the natural person. The workmen are the natural person. The other stakeholders are the natural person. So if their Article 19(1)(g) is getting breached because the action of 248 and 252 had been done, same had just because of this. Now if we look into the as rightly pointed out by the our honorable member, our judicial member, that in 252(1), if we file an appeal, since we are filing an appeal, and when we are filing an appeal, a substantial question of law gets challenged. While in an application, we don't, the format of an application does not gives us the opportunity to frame a question of law. However, in appeal, the format is that you prefer a question of law. So when question of law is being analyzed, so you can analyze then there that whether your companies had been, the directors had been disqualified just because of this company which you are getting revived. When you file in the 252(3), you cannot get it analyzed that whether it was only your company because of which the directors were disqualified. So if in 252(1), it had been just the company that you are getting revived was the reason because of which your directors got disqualified, the order of NCLT will in itself force ROC to activate your DIN. However, when we look into the list, we will find that there had been, when we search the DIN of a director in the list, we find that there had been multiplicity of companies in which the director had been disqualified because of that. So if you filed a 252(1) appeal as well, so if your director had been disqualified because of more than one company, there had been disqualified in various other companies as well. So even if the order of the NCLT for reviving that, for activation of the DIN will not be able to help you there for activation of director disqualification. When it comes to 252(3), since it is an application, so in application, since you cannot challenge a provision of the law or the action of a statutory authority, you are not getting it, the litmus test cannot be done because applications are considered as more of a mercy applications. It is in the format of a mercy that you plead before the court. So court actually cannot provide the activation of your director there. Do we have time left, ma'am, or?
Yes.
Continue. Okay. So.
प्रतीक, मुझे इनकम टैक्स असेसमेंट का तुम पॉइंट बता रहे थे ना, उसको थोड़ा सा और इलैबोरेट कर दो, बिकॉज़ पीपल may like to know, because a lot of juniors have also joined.
What happens that when we are analyzing it only in the when we are analyzing only in the segment of the promoter, we are doing a limited analysis. But when we started the course, there was a diagram. I remember that there used to be a stakeholder diagram that we used to make. And in a stakeholder, it used to be the directors, it used to be shareholders, it used to be employees, it also used to be a government authority. So what happens that 252, when a company is strike off, and there is the coming of IBC. In IBC, the company is liquidated. A CIRP is initiated, because of which a moratorium is being put by the NCLT, because of which any kind of litigation pending in the format of statutory demands, that gets stopped. The statutory authorities cannot take back any amount from you. And if your company gets into the liquidation process, after initiation, CIRP is the first stage where the company is getting insolvent for the initiation of insolvency. And if the company is not able to repay its debts, then the company has to go into liquidation. So after liquidation, the statutory dues have to be done according to section 53, that is provides a waterfall mechanism. So if your company is going for a dissolution, then your statutory demands ends in proportion. It would be pari passu. However, if your company had been struck off because of the action of the registrar, 252 under section 248, it would not amount that your creditors have exhausted. It won't amount that your statutory remains will not be, you will have to repay your statutory dues as well. Because in the insolvency, even the creditors would be required to pay only in according to the section 53, that is the waterfall mechanism. However, in 252(1) or 252(2), not only the directors, not only the members of the company, even creditors can get the companies revived. I had a very wonderful case in which there was an operation mismanagement was going on between the companies, and one director was not the director who was vacated from its post by coercion had filed the company revival petition. So company revival, restoration was asked from the court. And when the old management, which was the management at the time of strike off of the company, came before the court and said that this company may not be revived. He since there was a dispute pending, and he was at that point of time, because of the fabricated documents, he lost his directorship, his shareholdership was, he was not also the shareholder of the company, and he was also not the creditor of the company. So we filed it under section 252(1), because 252(1) provide me any person aggrieved by an order of the registrar of companies. So I was in a management dispute and I was not part of the company. So as a locus, I was not having a direct locus into the company. However, I said that I had a management dispute. So I am now in the category of any person. Since I am in the category of any person, under 252(1), I can get my company restored. However, if we look into the section 252(3), I didn't have that opportunity in section 252(3), because that although 252(3) provides a period of 20 years from the order of the registrar of companies, however, it provides the limited number of people who can apply before the court. They are the member, creditor, or workman, and the company in itself. So a person in a management dispute who is not the part of the company will not be able to take the benefit of 252(3). So they both the sections are quite wonderfully, I would say that they are quite wonderfully drafted. However, the usage of the sections of section 248 on the part of registrar of companies had not been prudent, because because if we look further, that when we make an appeal or an application, there had to be certain annexures that we have to prove before the court. So majorly 250 company have to be revived, but there has to be grounds that company has to be revived. What are those grounds? The grounds may be that somebody is having, if you are applying on the behalf of company, you are applying on the behalf of director, you are applying on the behalf of members of the company. You have to prove that the company is a going concern and would be carrying on the business of the company, and company would be willing to pay if there had any dues. That undertaking also you have to mention in your appeal, body of your appeal or your application. So point of going concern has to be proved. Then what are the things by which we can prove that the company is would be a going concern? Going concern, because when we read the starting of the Companies Act, it said that the company is having a perpetual succession. That is different from the directors or anyone else. Company would be run even after end of the directors. We can see the East India Company. East India Company was started by Britishers, but today it has been taken over by an Indian, and the company is still running. So management have been changed consistently. However, the company had been a going concern. So either you prove that there had been the substantial assets in your company, like we can say that there had been the land, there had been the stock had been there in your company that you could sell off, that is of higher value. As an annexure to the court, annexure, you have to file a bank statement by showing that there had been the business that had been going on in your company. To prove your point again, you can put the income tax returns of your company if there had been your company had been paying the income tax returns. Because majorly what we see that there had been the housekeeping issues with most of the companies. They had been very much compliant with the taxation authorities. However, they had been a bit relaxed attitude towards the ROC, Registrar of Company, Ministry of Corporate Authorities. So you will easily find that most of the companies' income tax returns had been filed or the GST returns had been filed. That will also prove that you had been doing the business of the company. Further, you can also put it that if there had been the electricity usage had been there, so you can put the electricity use, because if there had been the premises of the company, then why would it be used electricity? If there's it, definitely you are incurring a cost. That is that will prove for the purpose of for the members, shareholders, and company, that you prove that the company had been a going concern. But when it comes to the creditors have to prove that there had been an acknowledgement of debt. You have to ensure that the act of limitation that says that there had been the 3-year time period, you have to get your debt recovered. So you have to prove before the court that whether you are an operational creditor or a financial creditor, you have to prove before the court that your debt falls within the time period of 3 years, that is the law of limitation, or had there been any acknowledgement of debt by the company. So you would be able to get your company revived. Workmen, when it comes to workmen has been provided with immense kind of rights, I would say. Even in the IBC, if you say in the waterfall mechanism, when we go into the section 53, you have to, after the payment of COC, it is the workman dues that has to be. So if you had been the workman of the company, you can also get the company revived. Because in the manufacturing concerns, we see that because there had been the policies, or there had been, because of the competition, many of the companies are not able to, had been the profitable earlier, but are not able to generate the same profits now. So there had been huge workmen dues that remains, or there are companies that hire and then they run away. So these kind of companies in which you can also get your workmen, as a workman, you can get the company revived. Unions can file the same as the IBC. We are provided in the IBC that workmen can get, group of employees can file an insolvency petition. Same is that the workmen, either the group of them or a single person as well, because in the act it is not it is workmen. So it is a singular person can also file. However, in the IBC you go for if your dues are not for 1 crore as of now, so there has to be a group of employees. Now in the 252(3) we can, a single workman can also file the company revival petition. And then I suppose that I would have cleared most of, yes. Then one thing that we need to understand is that if you are filing on the behalf of the directors or directors, then you have to ensure that you file the board resolution as well if you are filing the petition, being an appeal or an application. However, if you are filing in the capacity of a member or any other person, you need not to file all those kind of all the board resolution and all. Further, you need to ensure that you file an advance copy with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and that is the registrar with the concerned registrar, and also with the income tax authority which your company PAN had been registered, so that the reply can come when you file an application before the NCLT. You have to ensure that everything, when even on the first date, most of the things are ready, because if any statutory authority says that we have to find a reply on a second date, you get another date, and it is not very much clear in the COVID time period that when the bench would be sitting or when a bench won't be sitting. So ensure that you file a copy with the registrar of companies as well as the income tax authorities, so that they can file their replies within time, and you can actually very boastfully say to your clients that, see, I got your company revived on a first date or a second date. That would help if you file the advance copy. That is I always say that is the mandate. You do anything, but never forget to file the with the authorities. And if on a first date court says to you that you have to file a notice with the income tax authorities or a ROC, I will, as a trick, I will always suggest that you file the copy with the ROC and file the income tax, and give an affidavit to the filer, and immediately an affidavit with the court that you have done your filing. So that will help the court to curtail their wings, because most of the time government authorities take their time to file the reply, and we have to lose our precious time in getting the company restored. And since we are having now very few days left for the CFSS scheme, so most of the people are rushing for the CFSS scheme. Although now the judges have also shown sympathy with the people, and they are trying to weed out as much as 252 applications, I suppose. That had been now the attitude of most of the benches. I've argued in Delhi and Mumbai and Rajasthan consistently, so the judges don't give much of the dates. Mostly in the second date, they get the companies revived. I had the privilege of arguing before the NCLT president. So even NCLT president, in one matter, he did not even consider the reply of ROC or income tax. That was that he get the company restored in the very first hearing only. So we have the benefit that at this time we can file as much as the company restoration, and since the judges are also sympathetic of the view of the CFSS scheme, and we have heard our judges that they are also of the view that this action is something that had violated the principle of natural justice. So we can, this is the best time to file the applications. I suppose that we are hitting the timeline now, ma'am, 6:30.
Thank you, Pratik. Thank you.
So I would like to extend the gratitude to you, ma'am, and the MCCI and the judges who were able to be here, and all the legions listening, and all the legions to be who are listening for your august presence. It's quite a privilege, and I would extend my thanks from Jaipur that yes, Kolkata, I visited Kolkata, wonderful city, very beautiful city, and yes, the people there are actually one of the most loving people I've ever met.
Yes, but
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
It was so very honestly mentioned by you that Kolkata does hold that charm. But today, I think you held the charm for all of us. You took us through the provisions, not only by the letter of it, actually you practiced in it. So therefore, you were able to take us through all the nitty-gritties of it. And very aptly, the honorable judges had really set the tone. They really, in 5 minutes, कहते हैं ना कि पूरा सार एकदम सार में उन्होंने दे दिया, सारांश में दे दिया. So they really told us that where we are probably going wrong or where is it that we really need to see. So प्रतीक, तुम एक बात बताओ मुझे, तुम जब अपीयर करते हो तो कहीं ऐसी कोई बात नहीं उठी कि भाई कंपनी का तो परपेचुअल सक्सेशन होता है, मैं आज बिजनेस नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं कल तो कर ही सकता हूँ. कंपनी का मतलब ही यही है, परपेचुअल सक्सेशन, एंड दैट्स फंडामेंटली एम्बेडेड इन द लॉ. So why is it that today if I don't have business, if I don't have income tax returns to show, or if I don't have some cash flow, fund flow in my bank accounts, but of course I have the company, I'll do it tomorrow.
Indeed,
why is it that the judges don't look at it positively?
Ma'am, it might be a view of other benches. In one application that I filed before the court was based only, there was no asset, I was not doing any kind of business, but it was a name. It was a name because the directors had registered it in the name of their Kul Devi. Started the name of it with the Kul Devi, and they always felt that it is very auspicious for them.
Right.
They were very much hell-bent that their company will get started. So I only argued for the purpose of name.
Okay.
That the name is very much important for me, and I would be carrying on the business since I have come before the court, and I am coming with a clean hands. I'm not hiding anything. Everything is clear before the court, and if the court feels that it may get the investigation done, but I'm coming with the clean hands, and the name is of primary importance for me. So judges were quite considerate in that issue. I don't. It's that I find that most of the companies got revived.
Most of the companies don't revive.
Most of the companies got revived.
Strike rate is very, very low, in fact, whereas it should have been just the opposite.
Yes, ma'am.
So Pratik, what are the few judgments that you may have in your kitty which you want our precious people to remember or maybe to refer to? एक तो Delhi High Court वाला judgment बता दिया.
Ma'am, Delhi High Court judgment, I suppose that is the one of the most precious judgment. I am not having it, although I'll share it with you on WhatsApp, and then ma'am, you may kindly circulate with all the people. But Delhi High Court judgment, yes, it was a very important judgment in which the High Court has said that since if the company is having an asset in the form of land, so even if that is a huge land, you won't be carrying on it. You cannot bring the electricity bill of that. You cannot bring the employee salary that you had been paying. Your bank account would be zero because you won't be doing any transaction. However, you built it a bank, and it might be a SPV, special purpose vehicle companies that we make for carrying on the transaction. So the land was the issue that came before the court, and court was quite generous in stating that since, and yes, that was the point even highlighted by our judges, that what would happen if the company is not restored, to host kitty that land will go. In host kitty, because stakeholders in a company is quite huge. You cannot say that one person is only the stakeholder of the company. So that is, it cannot be inherited, it cannot be gifted, it cannot be done anything. What will you do with the land? And it would be
under the Benami Act. बहुत एक्ट है आजकल, बेनामी एक्ट में चला जाएगा सरकार के पास. You never know.
Yes, ma'am. बेनामी के अंदर तो नहीं जा सकता. Luckily, I'm practicing for Benami matters also. Sorry to me. However,
you're right. I am just on the lighter side. Yeah.
Yes. Because on the directors, when we are director, we are doing all the KYCs there. All the KYCs with the ROCs there. So if it has to carry on any kind of investigation, if there has to be it has to be declared a Benami, because in Benami you cannot identify a person. But here I am coming with clean hand that I am the person and these are my debtors and these are my shareholders. Kindly go and check. So that cannot fall into Benami Act.
Yeah, Pratik, but let us also look at those cases where people are not coming forward for having a rejuvenation of the company.
Yes, ma'am.
In those cases also, there could be some cases where there is a bank account, there is a property, there are charges. So up to 20 years wait करेंगे, वो कोई आएगा तो revive करेगा, but एक बार तो खत्म हो गई कंपनी, स्ट्राइक ऑफ हो गई, उसका सरकार क्या करेगी? उस प्रॉपर्टी का वो चार्जेस जो बैंकों का है, बैंक अकाउंट्स हैं, उसमें पैसे भी कुछ पड़े हैं, चलो बैंक अकाउंट आप अटैच कर लिए, तो हो गए ना सरकार की, तो बाकी का क्या होगा ये बताओ, जो फिक्स्ड एसेट्स है, बाकी करंट एसेट्स है, स्टॉक होगा, क्या होगा?
This is a question that can be solved by the efforts that the professionals like you are have been doing. Because see, if we have, I don't know how my portal is not showing that how many people are listening to this conversation. However, I think that even if the 10 professionals are able to gather the point that this is the best time of getting companies revived, I suppose they would be able to give this insight to the people. Most of the people are not even having the insight that what is the remedy available. Correct. So these are the platforms on which the people get educated, and people know that it is not a Herculean task to get a company revived. If they once they feel that it can be done easily and it can be done in a time specific manner, so there would be more people willing to come forward and get their company revived. Since most of the consultants are not even giving the opinion, at times they say that because very old professionals, if there had been, so at times they feel that what we have said is that because most of the people are not willing to go to the courtroom or and kind of, and there are people who are afraid for challenging the law.
Yes.
And law gets evolved because I felt that same problem when I filed my first writ for director disqualification. People were not willing to understand that if a law has come, that it could be challenged. People were of the view the law has come now today, this is the law.
Yes,
However, High Court was generous in giving stays.
सही है. तो अगर चार्जेस, जैसे हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि किसी कंपनी में अगर चार्जेस है and which are of course lying unsatisfied, so उनका strike off नहीं हुआ है. Those orders of the ROC has not struck them off. So why is it? See, we understand the reason why, but this is quite, you are then picking and choosing.
Yes, ma'am, indeed.
So that means creditors' rights are important, which belongs to banks, but the other property assets which is lying in the company, ultimately it is asset of the country only, no?
Indeed, ma'am. Indeed.
So then why is it? Have you ever seen any case in front of you being argued in this manner?
In which there were huge charges were left with the company. This is creditors. Creditors got the company revived. Creditors got the company revived.
Okay.
Yes. Creditors, because they are having the locus by the 252(3), provides the locus 252(1) any person. So if any appeal has to be filed, and the 252(3), if any creditor is there, the creditor can till 20 years. Yes, they can file. And I suppose that since we have not seen the time in which the 20 years have lapsed of my practice, however, many of the times, if such circumstances, we file the condonation of delay as well. In High Court, at times we are not able to file within time. There had been a year has passed, or 2 years have passed, 3 years passed. At times, judges, you file a condonation of delay application that we say section 5 for the limitation period, and courts consider them as well. So even after 20 years after of this provision, I suppose that if there had been a land and some person who had been ignorant at this point of time might get can get the company revived by filing condonation of delay, would be an opinion for after 20 years.
Yeah. So thank you for that. I just have 1 or 2 more queries. Rest of it seems to have got answered. Somebody's written disqualification. Dilip sir has written disqualification of directors, restoration. Do you have any view?
Ma'am, director disqualification, I have the same view that that had been an action of the by the ROC by the strike in a single stroke, and that this is a utopian decision that had been taken by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And I suppose that the institute should file the representation and get this section in itself struck off, because in High Court we had been filing 2 kind of writ petition. One filing we have challenged the list. In the list, we have to file it before the single bench. In other kind of writs, we have filed before the division bench, in which we have challenged the constitutional validity as well. So I suppose that even the institute of CS, CWA, CA have to make the representation to the ministry, because in 1956 Act it was with the public limited companies. Now they in this Act, in 2013 Act, they have included with the private limited companies as well, and private limited companies are too many. Of course, when I make a company in 1956, when I used to make a company, I used to pay a charge. I had to pay a fees. I had to pay government a fees, and then my company would get. So I made a kind of contractual relationship is there, although it is not into the books, but this as a contractual, I paid a fees to the government, and now you have changed my act. When I had a contract with you, in a sense, I had a contract with you that these would be the governing things for me, because that was a codified act. And now you have changed the contract by yourself unilaterally and not informed me, and get me struck off for 5 years. And just for what is the reason? 3 years I'm not able to file my return. And if you wanted to know anything, send me a letter. I'll send you, tell you my return. Na? What if Exchequer is not losing anything, even if the ROC gets to know something or it does not go? It is the income tax authorities. If Exchequer is losing, it is their question that how they have to get the from the business, or if the GST is something losing, what is ROC losing? ROC is just not getting the information. Ministry of Corporate is just not getting the information. So I suppose that is something that has to be looked. This is a housekeeping to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
Sure. So just one last question, and then we'll try to close it. How to take out the detail of demand pending for already striked off company from ROC if we want to revive the company? So,
demand of what? Demand of what?
Nupur, what demand is it? If you can just point that out. And there's just one query from Swati Pawar. Please give your views on proviso to section 167(1)(a), which you've already given.
No, I haven't spoken on 167(1)(a). For a moment, please.
Yeah, sure. Disqualifications specified in section 164.
Okay, he wants to add the office of a director shall become vacant in case he incurs any of the disqualifications specified. Yes, that is something that we had been arguing for. That disqualification, that is also the question of 252(1) and 252(3). The section says that I had been 164 says that because of one company of which I had not been doing my filing my returns, I got disqualified because of that. However, there are 10 other companies in which I had been filing the returns. But because of a company, if I got disqualified, because of a company I got disqualified, I get disqualified in all the 10 companies. So this is something very unreasonable and of passing on a hardship to the director for no reason. That is, for no reason I am getting disqualified in B, C, D, E, F, G, H. However, I had not been non-compliant in only a company. So that question had come before the High Court. We had filed the writs in the High Court stating this one reason also as well, that my disqualification carries to the other companies. And this is something that is, I don't know that how this provision had been added. What the Constitution says that I can be punished only for the wrong I had done. There I had not done any wrong. So you cannot tag me a disqualified director for 5 years for all the companies and for new companies as well. And I didn't get reactivated. So I have to do many kind of work based on that, and I cannot make new company. Why so? So that is definitely an alarming situation. I suppose that is under challenge before the courts. Luckily, our Rajasthan High Court has still not decided that whether it would be a retrospective or prospective. However, today this is the law, and I definitely feel that the professionals should take up a call and ring the bell to the ministry that such draconian sections should be rephrased as of now.
So thank you, Prateek, and we kind of come to an end to the session unless people just tell me to wait further and take few more questions. There's Vijay Mahindranji who's written that can the company stricken off voluntarily with fixed asset be revived?
Oh yes. If it had been voluntarily done, but you are a person whose interest has got affected, You rule, that is what is the in 252(1) it has been said any person. So if you can prove a locus that the company has done an act of voluntary getting it is strike off because of any ulterior motives that is affecting your right or your interest, so you can bring 252(1). And if you falls under the other four categories of a creditor or a workman, because had been a management dispute and you had been a member of the company, you can go into the 252(3) as well. If you are all those four people, and if you are not all those four people, you can go into the 252(1), where you are any person whose interest is getting affected, because companies can do for ulterior motives, they can get themselves struck off.
Okay.
But however, if the company had been liquidated by IBC proceeding, then there had been the end to the company.
Absolutely.
Then there has been everything has sold, and now you are coming before the court. So one question court even asks you, that is not we are asking to all the authorities, court even asking you why were you were sleeping on your rights. Yeah. When you were having rights, why you were sleeping on your rights. So you have to match the timeline 3 years and 20 years. If you are sleeping for 3 years or 20 years, as the case may be, court won't be able to help you also.
One last question, Pratik, just one last question. Mahindra Kedia is asking, can we also demand a remedy in an application in form number NCLT 9 for removal of disqualification of DINs of directors?
You can ask, even court can give that remedy. But if you are filing in the 252(3), what had happened in the Rajasthan NCLT, in Jaipur NCLT, judges were very generous. They even populated the name of the directors for DIN activation. ROC is going for appeal before the NCLAT and those orders.
So Mamta, your question that, if a revival order comes and even then you do not want to continue with your operations, then what happens? Again, you'll get a strike off notice. So, yeah, so what a lady has written, she's akin to my name, Mamta, that if the order for revival has been passed, however, the directors do not wish to continue the operations. So what will be the approach of the ROC then? What will be the consequence?
See, there are two things that have happened. Who are you who had applied before the court? Were you the director? Were you the shareholder who had actually filed this application? And what happens at many times that the consultants don't tell to the client that when company will get revived, NCLTs had been imposing a cost on them. Various from top to bottom, various NCLTs had different views. In NCLT Jaipur, we had cost of 25,000 earlier. In Chandigarh, we have cost of 50,000. Down Hyderabad, we had cost of 1 lakh rupees. In Mumbai, I have heard in a matter they have imposed a cost of 2 lakh rupees as well. So there are times that comes a confrontation, or there had been any kind of decision that might have happened. That after coming of the NCLT order, it is not necessary that your company will get automatically on. You have to file the order with the registrar of company. And second, there had been the case you were the creditor who applied for the 252 application and got your company revived, and now the directors are not cooperating with you for filing the annual returns. So in that case, now what happened that today only I had a conference with a client. In that, it had been a mall property. There had been a big mall that had been the property of the company that had been made, and his paternal grandfather wishes to give it to him. However, he died, and since it was the company had got struck off, so now you have to file a management dispute, but you cannot file a management dispute because your inheritance was not, your shares had not been transferred to you at present date. So you have to give a head-on collision to them. So what you do is you file a criminal complaint against them that they are not cooperating. Since you are not operation, you go in operation mismanagement, get your case rejected. Now this rejected case will also help you out in a way, because when you file a criminal complaint, the investigation officer will say that this is a company matter, I cannot take it as a criminal matter. However, when you go to the NCLT and you file the case and you say that since you are not the shareholder falling in the 10%, you cannot file the case. So now you have the remedy to show that the criminal court that see, it cannot be said to be the company matter. See, it cannot be said to be the company matter because they are not entertaining me. So you have to take the action.
Yes, yes, very well said.
How you have to, what is the interest of your client? You have to use that particular law. Even losing something can benefit you out at other stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pratik. In fact, let me tell you, people are grappling that can they sign contracts? You know, can they enter into arrangements when the status of the company is being shown as strike off in the ROC records?
No. Of course, whosoever would be signing, they have to get a due diligence and hire a very good company secretary for getting a due diligence done. And when the due diligence was done, that would be because you knew that something was wrong. So ignorance of law is not a remedy for us. Ignorance of law is not an excuse that we say. So you were knowing it, something had happened, and we always says that these are the public documents. So when we are arguing on the other side, if we are playing a devil's advocate, we say that that has been a public document and you should be knowing that, and now you have entered. So how will court help you when you not taking steps?
Thank you, Pratik. You've been very patient with all the queries. Thanks a ton. I'm sure everybody of my attendees, most precious attendees today, have been able to benefit out of these deliberations. Yes, so with your permission, Gupta ji.
Yeah.
Can we hand over the baton now to Gopal?
Yeah. Very well done.
Yes. And you've been with us all through, Gupta ji. Thank you so much.
No, it is my duty. As a president, it is my duty.
But you've been a very, very, I think, alert listener today, I must say that. So thank you.
No, it is my duty.
Thank you for your presence, Gupta ji. Thanks a ton. Gopal, would you like to do the honors of thanking the speaker and also thanking Gupta ji? And must not forget to thank Munmun Didi of MCCI. The kind of efforts that she has put in to bring us all together was really enormous.
It's my pleasure, Di. All pleasure is mine. Yeah. This is my pleasure to give the vote of thanks to Pratik ji. He's a member of the ICSI and he's practicing as an advocate. Pratik ji have given the very insight of the 252 matters and what we can do and how we can present the case before the NCLT. And you have give the views of different NCLT, how they're imposing the cost, how we can file the matters before them, and what we can do in the appeals. So it is great to have you with us, and the insight is very important for us. Thanks so much for your time. You have given your precious time to us. Thank you so much, Pratik ji.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to thanks to SM Gupta ji, the president of NCLT Bar Association of the Calcutta. His time is always important to us, and he's always present when we required to him. Thanks to Mamta Didi to organize all these things and put all the efforts. From the past 2-3 days, he always with me. Gopal, ये ठीक हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है? इसको अपने को ऐसे करना है. So it's all credit goes to you, Didi. You have put lots of efforts on this, and not least, but I like to thanks to Munmun Didi, who organize and support all the things, and the last MCCI for all their support. Thanks to all.
Gopal. Thanks to you also for joining in. Pratik, a lot of people are asking for your email ID. So would you like to share?
Yeah, sure, ma'am, sure.
Please say it, then anybody who wishes to take it down, they can.
Should I write it down?
बोल दो या फिर बोल दो.
It's actually my name only, pratik.kedawat @gmail.com. So if you are having the flyer of the webinar, so you have to just put a dot between @gmail. That's all.
Nice. Mamta, I hope you got it. And everybody else who need it, because knowledge shared is always knowledge gained. Nothing is personal with a professional except the family. So thanks a ton. Thanks a ton, Pratik. We'll see you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I bid adieu to everyone. A butterfly is also moving around me, Pratik. I think she got very attracted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mamta.
Yes, thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, Pratik.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.